I never thought betrayal could sound like laughter. But that night, it did. It was the kind of laughter that doesn't belong to strangers or acquaintances. It belonged to someone I loved, someone I'd held through sleepless nights and stupid arguments. Yet there she was, my wife, Emma, tilting her head back, laughing freely at another man's joke, her hand brushing his arm like she'd forgotten whose ring was on her finger. And I was sitting right there. We'd gone to the bar together. It was supposed to be a light night, a chance to escape the suffocating routine that had wrapped around our marriage like a noose. Work had kept me busy, and Emma had been complaining for weeks that we were just existing, not living. So, I booked a table at the Lantern, her favorite downtown bar. The kind with warm lighting, good music, and a crowd that felt too young for us but made her eyes light up. She'd spent an hour getting ready. I remember watching her in the mirror, the way her hair fell perfectly over her shoulders, the way her perfume drifted across the room, familiar, intoxicating, dangerous. I told her she looked beautiful. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. At first, things were fine. We talked about work, about our friends, about nothing. But somewhere between her second drink and my third, something shifted. Two men at a nearby table waved at her. One of them, tall, confident, the kind of man who didn't have to try too hard, said something that made her laugh. She turned to me with that same half-smile she used to use when she wanted permission for something she knew I wouldn't like. "I'll just say hi," she said lightly. "Say hi," I repeated, trying to keep my voice calm. "You know them." She hesitated, then shrugged. "From the gym." "Relax, Nathan. It's just a drink." And before I could respond, she was gone, her heels clicking across the floor, her figure disappearing into a sea of dim lights and murmurs. Minutes passed. Then 10. Then 20. I watched as she laughed, leaned in close, sipped from the glass one of them handed her. She wasn't just saying hi. She was entertaining them. Every time I looked away, my chest tightened. My mind whispered things I didn't want to believe. She's done this before. She's too comfortable. I tried to focus on my drink, but the whiskey tasted like anger. That's when she looked over at me, just once. Her gaze met mine from across the bar, and for a moment, I thought she'd come back. But instead, she smiled faintly, and turned back to her new friends. It wasn't just disrespect. It was dismissal. Something inside me cracked. And that's when I noticed her. She was sitting 2 tables away, a brunette with sharp eyes and a look that said she'd seen too many nights like this. Alone, nursing a half-empty glass of red wine. She caught me staring, then smirked slightly. "Rough night." I almost laughed. "You could say that." She gestured at the empty chair across from her. "You look like you need company." Her name was Clara. She was a freelance photographer, divorced, with a dry sense of humor and a voice that sounded like someone who'd stopped pretending a long time ago. Talking to her was easy, effortless. But it wasn't about attraction. Not yet. It was about escape. Every time I heard Emma's laughter echo from across the room, I turned back to Clara and forced myself to smile, to talk, to pretend that I didn't care. "Let me guess," Clara said at one point, nodding toward Emma. "The woman who keeps looking at you, pretending she's not?" I followed her gaze. Emma was glancing toward us now, her expression unreadable. Her hand froze mid-gesture when she saw Clara lean in to whisper something to me. "She's your wife, isn't she?" Clara asked quietly. I swallowed hard. Was supposed to be. Minutes turned to an hour. The air between Emma and me thickened with unspoken words, each glance sharper than the last. Then, out of nowhere, Emma stood up from her table and walked toward me, her step steady, her expression coldly composed. The men she'd been with watched her go, confused. She stopped right beside me, her perfume sharp in the air. "So," she said, forcing a smile that didn't fool anyone, "making new friends too?" "Seemed fair," I said, my voice calm but my heart pounding. "You were busy." Her eyes narrowed. "Don't be dramatic, Nathan. I was just talking." "With your hand on his arm." "You're really going to start this here?" she snapped under her breath. "You're embarrassing yourself." Clara leaned back slightly, eyes flicking between us. "Maybe I should." "No, Emma cut in, turning her glare on her. "Stay. I'd love to see what kind of woman throws herself at a married man." Clara stood, her tone cool. "I didn't throw myself anywhere. I saw a man sitting alone, looking broken. Now I understand why." Emma's lips tightened. "You don't know me." "I don't have to," Clara said softly. "I can see what you're doing." Emma stormed off toward the exit, heels clicking like gunfire. For a second, I almost went after her. Old instincts. Old love. But I didn't. I just sat there, staring at the half-empty glasses, the space she'd left behind, and the woman who'd somehow seen right through both of us. Clara sighed. "Sorry if I made things worse." I shook my head. "You didn't. You just showed me what was already there." That night, I didn't go home. I drove aimlessly, headlights blurring through rain-streaked streets. My phone buzzed with Emma's messages, half angry, half pleading. "You overreacted. We need to talk. You embarrassed me." But not once did she say I'm sorry. Not once. When I finally went home the next morning, she was sitting on the couch, mascara smudged, eyes red. "Nathan," she started, her voice trembling slightly, "can we just talk about last night?" I dropped my keys on the counter. "Sure. Which part? The drinking, the flirting, or the part where you made me look like a fool?" "It wasn't like that," she said quickly, standing. "I was just trying to have fun. We've been so tense lately. You've been distant, cold. I needed to feel wanted." I finished for her. She didn't answer. I laughed bitterly. "You know what's funny? I wanted to fix this. That's why I took you out. That's why I sat there, swallowing every ounce of pride I had left, while you acted like I didn't exist." Tears welled up in her eyes. "Nathan, I didn't mean to hurt you. I don't even know what I was doing." "Yes, you do," I said quietly. "You were testing how far you could go before I'd stop caring." She looked down, her voice cracking. "Are you going to leave me?" I should have said yes. I should have packed my things, walked out, and never looked back. But love, real or imagined, doesn't die neatly. It lingers, it begs, it confuses. So I said nothing. She took a step closer. "It didn't mean anything, Nathan. Please believe me." I met her eyes. "Maybe that's the worst part, that it didn't mean anything to you. But it meant everything to me." She broke then, collapsed onto the couch, sobbing into her hands. And I stood there, watching, feeling absolutely nothing. No anger. No pity. Just emptiness. Weeks passed. We went through the motions, work, small talk, quiet dinners. But something fundamental had shattered. Every time her phone buzzed, I wondered who it was. Every time she smiled at me, I wondered if it was real. Trust, once broken, doesn't rebuild. It mutates. It turns into suspicion wearing the mask of forgiveness. One night, she came home late again. Claimed she was out with coworkers. I didn't ask. I didn't accuse. I just nodded. But when she went to shower, I opened her phone. My hands shook as I scrolled through messages. There he was, the same man from the bar. "Can't stop thinking about that laugh. Same place next Friday." Her reply, maybe winky face. The air left my lungs. I set the phone down, quietly, gently, like it was something fragile I didn't want to wake. And in that moment, something in me died completely. I didn't confront her right away. I waited. For once, I wanted her to feel uncertain, to wonder if I knew. So when Friday came, I dressed neatly, went to the lantern, and took the same table we'd shared weeks before. And as I sat there, I saw her walk in, alone, scanning the room. Then she froze when she saw me. Our eyes met across the distance. She didn't move. Neither did I. Then, slowly, she turned around and walked out. That was the last time I saw her. The divorce came quietly. No yelling, no court drama, just signatures and silence. Months later, Clara texted me. She'd found my number somehow, said she'd seen me at the bar again once, sitting alone. We met for coffee. This time, the silence between us didn't feel heavy. It felt healing. "You ever forgive her?" Clara asked. I stared into my cup. "No. But I stopped hating her." "That's enough." She nodded. "Sometimes letting go is the forgiveness." Looking back, that night at the bar wasn't the start of the end. It was the moment I finally saw what had been there all along, a woman lost in her own emptiness, and a man too afraid to admit he couldn't save her. I used to think love was about holding on. Now I know, it's about knowing when to let go. Because sometimes, the loudest heartbreak isn't found in shouting or tears. It's in sitting at a bar, watching the person you love laugh with someone else, and realizing the only thing left to do is finish your drink and walk away.